And here to talk through everything with us, Darren Lewis and Owen Hargreaves. And it's a big one to start talking about, which is Manchester United against Liverpool. You said when you first came in today that you thought it was pretty similar from what you've seen from Manchester United and Liverpool in seasons gone by. Is that mostly the case for Manchester United, do you think, rather than Liverpool?
In respect to the results at the minute?
No, in terms of the performance and the balance of play, the way the game went.
I thought that Liverpool, it was a different kind of performance from Liverpool. It didn't feel so how Man United won it when they play against Liverpool, more basketball matches, so it's like transitional, and Man United get the opportunity to break on the Liverpool side that kind of left themselves a little bit open on the counter-attack. It looked very much more robust at the back. I think Gravenberch has a lot to do with that, and it just seemed more controlled. It felt like Liverpool in total control of that. At no stage was I feeling like, you know, Man United were going to be able to play that game. They seemed to have the character of their manager already. It's very, very in control they were. Well,
let's start by talking about Liverpool then, because there have been changes, not wholesale changes, not huge changes, but definitely there is that feeling of control. It feels a little bit less emotional, Owen.
Possibly, but I do think he's a brilliant manager and he's inherited, one of the best squads of players in the Premier League. So you probably don't need to change too much. Maybe the transitions won't be as big. He's got 3 central midfield players, they're all ball players. So maybe he wants to play a little bit more, but I don't think they're going to play too dissimilar to the way Jurgen Klopp played. Why would you change it? He's built up something so special. Normally when a manager leaves the squad, it's because the team's not very good, or the players aren't very good. Liverpool have an incredible squad of players. Alisson and Van Dijk and Alexander-Arnold, McAllister, the whole pitch, the front 6 are incredible. So I like the fact that he hasn't gone in there and ripped it up. He just kind of complemented what they have. Obviously, there's subtle differences, but I think in the old, I don't think they play too dissimilar to the way Klopp's Liverpool played at the moment.
He went over as well to the travelling supporters. They were singing his name. They did that at Anfield for his first home game last week as well. And he seems to have been taken to their hearts very quickly, particularly given that they lost a manager in Jurgen Klopp that, as Owen said, there was no reason to fall out of love with him. No. It just came to an end, and now the king is dead. Long live the king.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the transition of power has been really quite impressive, actually, because obviously they got to know him at the end of last season. He's on the pitch with Jurgen Klopp, who leads the chants for him, and clearly he's done a lot of work behind the scenes with the club before the summer. And he's not changed that much. He's not come in and been so caught up with his own ego to believe that he's got to change a club where there are already good players. There's already a fantastic academy. The coaching staff behind the scenes are terrific.
Fans are there. Fans are behind.
Fans will take you to their hearts regardless. What is there to change? And the start to the season has been terrific. 3 games, 3 clean sheets. Now, last season they conceded 41 goals behind Arsenal and City, and that cost them the title. This time around, they look so much more robust, and up front, they score goals for fun.
How important is Ryan Gravenberch and the job that he's doing, which he probably wouldn't have expected to be doing at this stage of the season, because we know that Liverpool...
Yeah,
he's
a brilliant player. And the thing is, it didn't really work out for him at Bayern Munich, but we saw at Ajax, there's a super talented player in there. But I don't think he's a defensive midfield player. I think with the way they play, there's 3 in there, and they all kind of complement each other. One goes forward, one drops off. It was interesting after the game when he spoke to Roy Keane after, and he spoke about the tactical plan, which I thought was amazing. Did it so quick. And he was saying, when we win the ball, then all the guys are good runners. They can get into the box. So he doesn't just want a defensive mid player to sit like an old school one. He wants them all to be able to play and then get into the box as well. So I like that. I like the fact that he trusts the players, but also Gravenberch is what? He's like 6'3".
Yeah.
He's quick, he can run, he can play. He can do everything in there. I think he could be anything for that team.
His defensive work in that particular game was something that they would have looked at and thought, wow. Because like you mentioned, he's not like the 6s, he's probably 8 and getting forward as an 8, getting into the box. We know he can get in there and score goals as well, but they must have been pleasantly surprised, or they've seen in training how good he is, maybe doing the number 6 stuff as well, the number 6 work, if he gets himself in that position. Perfect. Because like we know with Liverpool, they go for their man. If they don't get their man, they don't just say, right, let's go for the next one. They'll go, OK, let's see. And then they've obviously said, like, we'll try Ryan in there. And at the moment, we're talking 3 games, it looks like, wow, it looks pretty solid.
The thing is, the counter-press created all the goals. Turning over the ball. The first one, Casemiro makes a poor ball fullbacks are out of position, but the press actually created all the goals. And I think that's what, you don't have to be a brilliant defensive midfield player. You just got to be good at pressing, which I think Gravenberch is probably, of the three, is probably the best of those
So
players.
that midfield three is a bit like when there was that move away from strikers to the kind of front three and everybody sort of changed positions. Is that sort of a little bit how it's working in that Liverpool midfield?
I don't know. When I played, I always preferred to play with guys that everybody could do everything. So it wasn't like, oh, you just stand there and you just do that. You go create or you score goals. Right, let's take our turns. We all play football because we want to play and we want to get a ball, we want to shoot, we want to score. Okay, sometimes we have to defend, sometimes I have to sit in. But if Wrighty goes, I'll sit in for him. If Dan goes, I'll sit in. And I like the fact that whoever's kind of in the right position at the right time, they kind of go. And I think that's probably what players prefer, rather than just being pigeonholed, say, you stand there and you do that and you do that. I think the players have a little bit more freedom depending on what the game has.
So do they need a number 6 then, an out-and-out number 6?
To win the Champions League and the Premier League, you need a Rodri. Or, maybe not Rodri because he'll probably win the Ballon d'Or. You need somebody top level. And I do think if they get that, they could win everything. But
if they could get Zubimendi, he's the one you think that could be that guy. I think he could be that guy.
Probably. I'll be honest, I played that position, and I think the teams that win, you don't win with a playmaker there. You just got to still be a defensive midfield player when you need it, in the transitions, when you got to foul, when you got to break things up. I think that position is super unique. I don't think you need to be a ball player to play in there. So I'm a fan of having a guy that, he can play like Rodri, but he can still tackle too. I think when you're trying to put a Pirlo in there, Pirlo worked because he had Gattuso. And I think all the top teams that have won the league in the Champions League, they all had a defensive midfield player that was still there. Because when Wrighty's popping in there as a striker, I can't have a number 10 because he's not going to know how to win a tackle. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's a subtle difference, but you still need to be able to tackle in big moments. And I think even Van Dijk would probably prefer that, having somebody in front that in the moments he knows that's going to tackle.
So explain that subtle difference, because you're the perfect person to have here to talk about what the position that Liverpool are trying to fill, the person they've got in place who, like you said, has got all the attributes, but it isn't his specialist position. Just explain the subtle difference between having a Gravenberch in there and getting, whether it's Zubimendi or whoever it is, as an out-and-out number 6.
Well, I think everybody's trying to play too much football now. And in the end, a game of football, there's only one ball, there's 22 players. Why do I need my defensive midfielder to be a playmaker? Yeah, he should be able to play football. But if, say, a world-class number 10 pops up in there and I play against, I don't know, Ødegaard, I need to be able to tackle. If I'm a ball player, I can't tackle. If a really defensive midfield player plays in there, I guarantee he'll turn the ball over probably 10 times a game. That's 10 extra looks for me to get the ball to say to Kevin De Bruyne. If you give Kevin De Bruyne an extra 10 looks at winning a game, I can pretty guarantee you're probably going to win the game. Yeah. But if we had that problem with England, we had all these brilliant midfield players, but none of them were specialists at kind of getting the ball back. So when we played anybody good, we couldn't get the ball back. And I do think if you're a defensive midfield player, a specialist in there, you get the ball back and you get it to the guys that win your game. McAllister and Salah, and they'll go win your game. If you're a ball player in there, what do you want to do? You want to play. Let Mo play, let McAllister play, let Diaz play. They're the guys that win you games.
Mo Salah has frequently been the player, as you say, who's won Liverpool games. Very interesting. I imagine your journalistic ears pricked up when you heard his post-match interview where he said, quite casually, in the middle of a more full answer, that it's my last season at Liverpool. Yeah. He expanded on that a little bit later on and said, I've not had any conversations with the club as yet. But it sounded, certainly on first hearing, quite decisive from Mo Salah. What did you take from it?
Well, I was shocked that he offered it rather than having it teased out of him. I mean, obviously...
Well, what does that tell you then? If you've got somebody who puts that on the table, as big a line as that on the table without being pressed for it.
It says to me that they want to send a message. Whenever I've interviewed footballers before, and you guys have been in similar situations, I would imagine, where you've wanted to get that message out there. Your ears prick up when footballers give you the information rather than you having to actually push them into a corner to give it. And then he actually didn't just offer it, but then he gave detail around it as well. I'm just going to continue in this season. I'm going to enjoy it as if it's my last. And he's either saying to the club I want a new deal or he's saying to other clubs, I'm available because I haven't started talking to the club yet.
It was beautiful from him, really. It was geniusly played.
Yeah.
Creates 3 goals, comes down and says, look, they haven't spoke to me.
That's exactly what he's saying.
I'm on free. You say, I ain't heard from him.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden the pressure goes on to clubs. And what? Why have you not offered him a new deal? Well, Mo's only 32, isn't he?
Yeah, 32. Yeah.
He's way too good to be going to Saudi.
Majorly fit. We're talking about somebody that Liverpool. If that's the message he's trying to send, listen, are we going to start talking contracts? Because
I'm still the guy.
There's going to be a parade of clubs that will take him the way he is, how great he is, his fitness, his hunger. And the thing is, as well, with Liverpool, is that I do get the impression that he would probably like to stay at Liverpool and break records. He's got that legacy player. If he stayed, let's say that he stayed for 3 years, and like even if he dropped off in the last year, because that's 10 years of unbelievable service. I believe that he would probably stay if Liverpool go about it. And like I know that people get very nervy around 30s, in their 30s. But I think that he's an exception in the way that he prepares himself and the way he plays.
I think it's absolutely, I agree with that. I think he's 32, but if you look at him, his body is like a Greek god. The way he lives his life, he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, you don't find him falling out of nightclubs. But also the interesting thing for me is that he's hearing a different voice now. And that could be quite key because he's not working under Klopp anymore. If he were to move, it would be, you would imagine, for another challenge. Well, in Slot, he has that challenge. He has different ideas on how to play the game, and he's still at a club where he can win another Champions League. Like you said, they can win everything if they were to get that player.
They can win a Premier League
season.
They
are absolutely Premier League contenders at the moment. So I think he's at the right place. It wouldn't surprise me if they were to sign a new deal. If they were not and he were to go, for example, to Saudi Arabia, you could see why. Speaking his mother tongue out there, he is a god, but he likes his privacy as well. And when he goes out there for the AFCON, goes away for the AFCON, they treat him, obviously, as they should do, like the superstar that he is, but he doesn't get that privacy. And I just wonder if in Liverpool he might feel a bit more comfortable staying at the top level of club European football.
And obviously we want to be able to keep watching him while he's at the peak of his powers, even if he is at 32. And as you say, clubs can get a bit nervous about players in their 30s. As for Manchester United, while the changes at Liverpool might be small, they have had a change of manager, and it does feel as though there are definitely tweaks to the way that they're setting about things this season. Has anything changed for Manchester United, do you think, Owen?
Well, the leadership structure's changed. Well,
has anything changed on the pitch, Owen?
I was hoping it would be a better start to the season. I thought the first 20 minutes they were all right. I thought they went toe-to-toe with Liverpool, actually. I thought they were level in the game. But the same problems that happened in the last 2 years under Ten Hag, when they concede a goal, they concede a second, they concede a third real quick. And they fold really quick. And I don't know why that is, because, they had a decent recruitment in terms of the summer. It feels like a good summer. But the problem is, on the pitch, they're still a mile off the top teams. And you would have thought with the money that they spend and the time that Eric's had there, there'd be a clear identity on how they want to play. And still, Slot's had 3 games, and we know how he's playing. And the fact of the matter is, they keep losing these big games at home against Liverpool. It's not done. You can't keep playing that way. There was 30,000 people that left the stadium halfway through the game, in the biggest game of the year. So pressure's on Eric Ten Hag. The performance have been... I thought yesterday was terrible, really terrible. You know what,
Kels, when you look at the way they do play, even though they were duking it out with Liverpool at the start, and then Liverpool score their goal, and then, like you mentioned, they score again. And it's simply because the way they're playing and the structure in which they're going to play in, they're going to still try and maybe play to the fullback into maybe Casemiro, maybe into Cobbin. They're not going to change that. So Liverpool, in the way they were pressing so well, so high. Liverpool just say, well, if you're going to carry on playing that, then we'll do that. Then we'll score. You're going to carry on doing it, then we'll score again because Man United...
That's true, right? I like that Slot said after. He said, we just said we'll keep the wide players high.
Yeah.
Because he knows the fullback's going to go. What happened on the first goal? Casemiro, look, it's a bad pass, right? Casemiro gets all the criticism. The fullbacks can't be there. They just can't be there against Liverpool. Where the fullbacks get in this crazy position where they're too high. Okay, it's a bad ball. Where are you 2 fullbacks against Liverpool? It's crazy. Yeah. And that's on the manager. At the back post, where Mazraoui should be, and he's actually played quite well in the 2 games, he should just be there. Yeah. Diaz gets a tap in at the back post. So I appreciate...
It's funny, because for Bayern Munich, you'd very seldom see Mazraoui caught out in that manner, so high up the pitch. For Man United, he's a couple of games in and he's making elementary mistakes like that.
But again, that's on the manager, because he's saying,
absolutely,
when we get the ball, you go high. You only go high when you have good possession. Yes. United didn't have good possession.
What he was saying after the game, Erik ten Hag, was not to say we played well and we were, but he made similar points to yours, which is, for 20 minutes we went toe-to-toe with them, and the goals were down to individual errors. But other than that, and statistically, the game his argument is borne out that there wasn't actually that much between Manchester United and Liverpool. It didn't look like that. It didn't feel like that watching the game. He also talked about De Ligt, not quite having bedded in, Xerxes not quite having bedded in, that this is going to be different. Maybe Casemiro doesn't start the next game if he's not going to get back up to full fitness. Are any of those valid arguments, do you think?
Not for me.
No. Unfortunately for him.
It's important to put them.
Yeah,
well, the interesting thing was the press conference, because one of my colleagues was in there and saying, could it be about yourself? Because after all the money, all the time that he's being given, and all of the problems that they've had, eventually the spotlight does have to come on to him. And one of the more senior colleagues in the dressing room put that in the press conference, put that to him. And he tried to put it back on the journalist and say, well, what do you mean? And the journalist reeled off a whole host of things that are wrong with the team. And I don't think Ten Hag expected that to happen.
Yeah.
But it was an illustration of the fact that the criticisms of him are born in fact. They're not just born in arbitrary attempts to undermine or discredit him. These are specific things, specific holes you can pick in the team after all the time, all the money that's been spent, all of the players that have come and gone. And I think that
people want Erik to do well, don't they?
They do want him to do well, absolutely. They are one of the superpowers in world football. They do want Man United to do well. The Premier League needs a strong Manchester United. But at the moment, there are players underperforming. The fallback, there are tactical areas that you summed up so well where they're just falling down for a club of that size. And when you compare them to a City, to an Arsenal, to a Liverpool, that defensive structure isn't there. That goal-scoring potential isn't there. The midfield is all over the place. They are just shapeless, and I do not see him lasting this season. That's a big thing to say, but it's so difficult because as media people, we cannot continue to see what's not there.
And it's been going on for a while now. You've seen in slots like 3 games, we know we see the structure, we see what he's trying to do. And unfortunately, with Ten Hag, and it's something that's going to be continually thrown back at him, is that we still don't know his system, his plan, how he wants it to...
That's it. The slot is 3 games in, and Liverpool have an identity.
You can get a little bit of an identity. And that is one of the things that, when he says, we were OK for 20... You come to Old Trafford, and you expect that they're going to be blasted. Back in the day, it was some of the ways that they finished games off. Seen it, watched it so many times. Man United are always going to come for 20 minutes where they're going to be on top. But what they haven't got now, what they had back in the day, is a structure and calibre of players and a discipline where we're going to do this, but we're going to actually do this for probably the whole game, and then we're going to get it to our wingers. We're going to cause you problems. With Ten Hag, there's no structure like that.
They don't look like they're going to score, do they?
They don't look like they're going to score.
And Liverpool has got like a front 7 now, with Chiesa coming in.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what Man United used to have back in the day. Yorkie and Cole and Sheringham.
Relentless pressure.
They had 5-6 guys, they rotate them in. United now, they're relying on 2 young kids to play a striker position. They're good players. But at the top of the pitch, you see it over at City. That's the level. Haaland. You need that. Or you, like Liverpool, you get seven guys to get you 15. I think for United, the start of the season couldn't have been much worse for Ten Hag, because everybody hoped with the recruitment it'd be better. But it looks like the same issues are there, especially when you concede and you go down.
Yeah. And that's the point as well. 3 games in, maybe too early to judge if it were a new manager, but it's based off what's gone in the seasons before as well. Sorry, Darren.
No, the only point I was going to make is that you look at the start that City have had 3 games, 3 wins. Liverpool, 3 games, 3 wins. Arsenal, 3 games, 2 wins and a draw.
Maybe we should have been.
Which you can make the case for that as well. I think as Man United, it's the 3rd time in the last 5 seasons they've lost 2 of the opening 3 games. They're just not ready to start the season.
I think he's had 3 years. He's had 3 points after 3 games.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
No, totally. It went.
You were going to make that point.
No, it's something like that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, but you do feel from, because now you got Ugarte is coming in.
He's a good player.
Very good player. So he wasn't playing at PSG for some reason, whether it's form or he just didn't want him in the team. I think he's got to go and play in the tournament, right? So He's going to have to hopefully go there, get minutes, and come back into a Man United side that is still not firing. And he's probably going to have to hit the ground running. So you've got another player who's coming in under intense pressure to change something.
But right, he's a one-man press.
Yeah,
I hope so.
Honestly, he's exactly what they need. He's a walking tackle. So that's what they need in there. They need a guy that's going to bite, tackle, especially when you're losing to Liverpool. You got to fight. And I like that about him.
And you're right. He's 23 years old, and his numbers at Sporting and PSG have been fantastic. But he's another case of another player that's been expected to come into Manchester United and solve the many problems that are in the team. Yeah. And I don't think he could do that by himself.
Yeah, but nobody could.
Nobody could, but then what's got to happen is like what we've seen when Man United are getting the ball or getting control of the ball in the midfield. Their fullbacks are bombing on. They're flying on. So if you lose the ball, you're going to get scored on, especially against Liverpool.
Can we tell them to stay back? Look at Liverpool, right? Let the forward players win the game.
Yes.
Who wins the game every time? Salah, Diaz, Gakpo, you got Chiesa, you got Jota, you got Nunez, you got all these guys. Why do the fullbacks got to create goals? Let Garnacho and
Liverpool's fullbacks do create.
They do that as well
in the structure.
But they, as you said, they can do that when they've got the structure there behind them to fall back on. But we'll talk lots more about this, and obviously we'll see what Manchester United can offer when Ugarte is back and in the mix, and we return after the international.
Well, it's a huge contrast in the impact that two Dutchmen have had on these two great clubs. Leon, let's start with Ten Hag, because we just heard from him there. And the argument is, if I put it to you now, they are no better than they were when he arrived 2 years ago. Is that a fair assessment? We are no closer to knowing what their style is, what their DNA is, or what he wants them to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they're not easy to watch still. I mean, just listening to his interview, they're saying it was mistakes. Of course, they give the ball away. Of course, they were mistakes. But they're exposed. When they do make mistakes, players make mistakes on a football pitch. Players will give it away in bad positions at times, but it's a manager's responsibility to make sure that when mistakes happen, he's got players in covering positions. Manchester United are so exposed trying to play. That's what the manager seems to be setting them up trying to do. And Liverpool picked them off at ease today.
Liverpool could have scored more. That was the worry. Liverpool toyed with Man United and they could have scored 6 or 7. Mo Salah missed a couple. Szoboszlai tried to walk one in. And Ten Hag said there about where was his double six. His fullbacks were far too high. When they didn't have good possession of the ball, the midfield was wide open. The two midfield players that are pairing together, Kobbie Mainoo and Casemiro. I don't want to be unkind to Kobbie Mainoo, but he's not an athlete. When you see him play for England, he plays alongside Declan Rice. He can cover the ground. Declan Rice for him. Casemiro can't. He gives the ball away 13 times, Casemiro. So he had to make the change at half-time. And if you're going to play with Casemiro and Kobbie Mainoo, ask them to sit still together. If you're going to go forward, your full-backs can get forward. Your wide players, your number 9, your false 9 can get forward. But make sure your two holding midfield players stay as holding midfield players. You can't play at Old Trafford being that exposed, and Liverpool ran all over them.
To answer your question, we keep having these conversations. How is it that Manchester United look like they haven't got a style? How can they keep leaving themselves exposed?
How can they look like they're not being coached properly?
Yeah.
That is the greatest accusation we could make about any football
You'd be disappointed if your under-18s team were leaving yourselves as exposed as that. Your full-backs up when you've not got good possession of the ball. And yeah, Liverpool played well, should have scored more goals. But all 3 of their goals were from them just picking United off.
Well, let's have a look at the goals, because Casemiro's at fault, partly in fault for the first 2. Yeah. Been a fabulous footballer, and he's got a medal chest to show for it, chest of medals to show for it. But maybe, that time has been and gone, because there's the mistake. And then, just as you were saying, picked off too easily.
See, that can happen. And Gravenberch, by the way, for Liverpool had a great game. It was a nice little weighted pass to Mo Salah, but it's far too easy. See Bruno Fernandes out of position. Mazraoui's the problem here, because you're always taught, if you're Mazraoui, bottom of the screen there, you can only go if Casemiro gives you that ball. If you can't, because Man United haven't got the ball in true possession
You can only go when you're secure in possession.
Exactly, so he gives it away, and then look at the distance between himself and Luis Diaz.
Well, Dallow's the same on the other side. They leave themselves 5v3. How can one bad pass leave your team 5v3? Look, Dallow's at the top of the pitch. Mazraoui, as you pointed out, is at the bottom.
So they've both gone too early?
Both of them have gone too early. And Ten Hag was talking about the double 6 pivot. But the fullbacks can't leave that space. That's where Diaz and Mo Salah want to run into. They're the spaces Liverpool are most effective and it was spaces Manchester United gave to them.
Good shout from Diaz to Szoboszlai, wasn't it? Because I think the Hungarian was about to head it. Having a look at the second goal as well, this time just dallying on the ball, and Diaz is too strong for him, is it? Diaz is in there, sensing a weakness in Casemiro.
Yeah, I mean, look at the bodies that, yes, Casemiro's give it away, but Liverpool set that up. They had 5 players around him in that situation, and then from there, they pounce quickly. I mean, the difference between Liverpool out of possession and United is frightening.
Watch Luis Diaz, he runs off Kobbie Mainoo. And he runs onto Lisandro Martinez, who doesn't spot him. So this is what I'm saying about 2 number 6s. If you're Casemiro or Kobbie Mainoo and you give the ball away, and if you're Kobbie Mainoo, you've got to realise that your mate's in trouble and your mate's on the floor. So what do? I've got to pick up a white shirt. I've got to pick up a danger man. This time it was Luis Diaz. There was no communication. There was no real effort from Kobbie Mainoo to sprint back in and get alongside Lisandro Martinez to help him. It was almost like, well, he's going to wander in there. It's not my responsibility. He's wandered onto Lisandro Martinez. It's his problem now. And that's the problem. Too many Man United players not having communication, but just passing players on. We were always taught as midfield players, you can only pass your midfield runner on if the centre-back tells you it's OK to. If you don't get them out of communication, you have
He's
to...
still your man. You still go with
your
him.
man.
Yeah.
But
the fundamentals are all the same as well. Liverpool gave the ball away there, and Luis Diaz sprinted, as did the rest of the team, to try and win it back. United give the ball away, Casemiro. I didn't see that reaction from the Manchester United players.
Casemiro hooked at half-time. Didn't make any difference in the second half in the sense of the way the game went, was it? Again, when they had a chance, Liverpool, the numbers at which they broke, it's effectively 4 on 2, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And again, Manchester United leaving themselves in a troubling position. That one bad pass or one player, it's Kobbie Mainoo on this occasion, getting caught. Look how many players United have got ahead of the ball. So they give the ball away, and as you said, look, suddenly 4v2 without having to do a thing.
Dalot out of position. Yeah. Well, you're right, Mark. When you say Man United have got 2 in midfield, Liverpool swamped all over them. Liverpool had 3 in there. Szoboszlai is a 10, and he was brilliant, another player for Liverpool. But Dalot's out of position. So, listen, as a fullback, when you're playing at home and you're playing against a Liverpool side that like to be wide and they've got Mo Salah, who's an obvious goal threat, if you're Dalot and you haven't got comfortable position, get goal side. Be alongside Lisandro Martinez, be alongside De Ligt, have your starting position facing that way. Not trying to make recovery runs.
So a very encouraging start for Liverpool and Arne Slot with 3 wins in a row and none conceded. What are the differences that you've seen in the first couple of weeks of the season between this Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool?
I think one of the first things is basically what we're talking about Manchester United. I think the fullbacks are playing quite reserved. I think they're playing behind the ball. Robinson, we're not seeing getting up and down that left. Trent is at times, but it's once they've got good possession. And when they get into the final third as well, I'm seeing a lot more desire to control the game. Liverpool under Klopp was all about get the ball in the box, let's score 4, 5, 6, 7 goals. I think they like to keep possession a lot more and really sap the energy out of their opponents at the moment. It's only 3 games in, but there are
OK, so the follow-up question is, how come we can see that and tell that already after 3 weeks and we can't with Manchester United?
That's the problem.
After 2 years.
Go on, Don.
Well, it's good coaching. Yeah. It's good coaching, but we're not seeing it from Ten Hag. No. What we've seen and what we sat here for about 2 years, and he can point to a couple of trophies in the cabinet, fine. But what we've been saying consistently here is you don't see a plan. You don't see Kobbie Mainoo and you don't see Casemiro pulling Bruno Fernandes in because you're getting exposed in midfield. All Man United, I think, have been living off over the last 18 months as moments. Whether it's Scott McTominay come off the bench against Brentford scoring a couple of goals, whether it's someone like Bruno Fernandes scoring a worldie goal, it's a moment.
That quarter-final against Liverpool at Old Trafford, And moments when you can win you knockout cups, but they can't get you anywhere in the league system.
Not over 38.
Their record is, they've lost almost as many as they have won going back to the start of last season.
He's got to find himself...
This is Manchester United.
He's going to find himself under pressure because...
With a negative goal difference.
Yeah, when you're building a team, yes, you might not win as many as you want to, but you don't lose them. No. You make sure that they're draws. You make sure of those 16 defeats, 6 draws, I think it was. That should be the other way around. There should only be 6 defeats. You should be capable of going anywhere in the country and not easily losing games. And United are too easy to beat.
Do you remember we sat here this time last week when they played Brighton? And I'm not digging Casemiro out, it's just a problem that Man United have got in general. And Casemiro, one of the most experienced midfield players in European football, and Brighton were on the attack and he ran out of the box because he thought they were going to be on the counter-attack and left 2 or 3 players at the far post for the João Pedro goal. I don't know what it is about this team or the individuals. They do not smell danger. They just want to play.
Reaction instantly, Mikel, to what you've seen from Manchester United? instantly.
Yeah.
Close to a capitulation from United side. Very worrying because we are at the beginning of the season. Normally, mentally, you're fresh, and the one condition to go into the derby is to have the fighting spirit, the togetherness. And we didn't see that in the action. We didn't see that in the tactic. The team was spread, very open. It was easy for Liverpool. Like you said, they didn't have to work hard to achieve and 3 goals. They scored 3 goals this afternoon. So it's a big concern. Last year, Coventry was almost a loss.
Well,
it was a loss.
It was
Crystal
a loss.
Palace after. I mean, for me, it's a continuity of last season.
Eric Ten Hag has come into this game, and I didn't mention it earlier, I will now, talking about how successful he's been as the manager of Manchester United, that only that Pep Guardiola has won more, and that he'd won more than Jurgen Klopp in the last 2 years. I mean, that's his.
I can understand him saying it because it's kind of leverage in his favour to endear himself to the fans.
It's his Benitez moment.
Yes, it is. Last man, he mentioned fact. Yeah. It's a fact that I am. The last manager of those 2 teams that did that was Benitez.
But in all honesty, I mean, your bread and butter is your week-to-week games in the Premier League.
It's the Premier League.
And Manchester United, okay, expectation is still there, and rightly so. It's still one of the biggest clubs in the world. Is that they should be competing at that top end of the table season on season out. I understand that. But for him, winning the cups is just papered over the cracks to an 8-plate
FA Cup
should have been in that final.
You can end up
in the FA Cup final.
I've
said that previously.
But they won it. But it can paper over the cracks, and you can end up in the final of a cup. I mean, we've done it where we've gone through the 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round, quarterfinals, and you haven't really played anyone, or you've certainly played teams you'd have expected to beat, and you're in the final, and then it's open, and you win it. And I'm not going to take them achievements away from him. He's won the cups, but for me, it's just papered over the cracks, and there's so much wrong.
Do you know what? I remember sitting here with you many years ago and talking about United. You say expectations still there. I don't know if it is, Jason. Really, I really don't know if it is. Anyone who expects them to win the title,
Andy, it's expectation, isn't it?
That expects them to win the title is barking mad, as far as I'm concerned. No, I'm seriously. What we've seen this season, not a chance.
No, of course not.
Everton never gets much chance.
To win at Southampton might be about just about the expectation at the minute.
No, what I'm saying, but you never sat here 1 year, and I remember, I think it was, I don't know if it was Barnsley or a foreign journalist, and we were talking about Liverpool, and he turned to us and said, you know what, in Europe, Liverpool is not regarded as a destination anymore, European destination, right? The times we're having. I think that's where United are right now. I don't think people look at him and think Champions League, Champions League.
Quoted you Graham Souness's column from the Daily Mail coming into the show today. He says that they've been buying players other teams don't want, which I think I concur. I mean, I spoke to Graham last week. He may have concluded from the conversation that that's the case, but they've spent 200 million.
Yeah, 200.
You heard from Andy Kerr at half-time say a fan had just said to him, and we've gone backwards. We're not as good. Have they?
Yeah, they haven't gone forward, that's for sure. So at best it's static, no improvement. You see the style of football, I don't see a proper style of football. Arne Slot on the other side at Liverpool has been there 3 games. You see what's happening. So whether or not you have injuries in training, you're supposed to do that, and we don't see the improvement. For me, I said that before, the defending is shocking.
I mean, he's a transitional manager, isn't he? That's his tactics. He wants to play on the break. That's how he wants to play. Where was the last team that did that won the Premier League? Leicester?
Probably. Less possession, yeah.
What chance?
But today, if you look at the possession, United are more of the ball, slightly.
What chance Ruud van Nistelrooy is in charge when we come back from the international break?
Are you jumping in conclusion too early? I don't think Ruud would
take it.
Really? Are you convinced that he would?
No, I'm not fully convinced.
Because he would if he was offered it. You know he would.
He'd have to.
He'd have to?
He'd have to.
So what chance?
So you go for in-house solution, which is most likely, because I don't know who's on the market right now who could solve these issues, but anyway, we will find out soon.
I think from the manager, Andy, from the manager's point of view, my personal take on it is if they'd have got the man they wanted in the summer, Ten Hag would have been out. I think there was another manager on the cards, but they couldn't sort the deal out. Whether that was Tuchel, whether it was Tuchel, Southgate, whoever that may be, there was names out there that would fit that mould of a Man United manager.
So you're a Manchester United player. You end last season expecting, because you know that one or two people have been told he's out. And then the news breaks they've extended his deal by a year. How do you feel when you report back after the summer?
Well, in a strange way, Keith, and I know what you're saying, and you're right, there's a lot of players would go, you're joking. But a lot of these kids have been given an opportunity to play for Manchester United. You know, they'd be delighted.
And stuff,
the ones that he's brought in and bought himself would be all right. Probably quite happy he's there, right? But there would be a clutch of players that would do exactly what you've done. But what we've said, and what I would agree with, what we've said for a long time now is, I think there's a particular type of, and the way that Klopp was a perfect fit for Liverpool when he came in, perfect fit for modern day Liverpool. Manchester United need that fit from someone. It's not him. It really is not him. And I don't mean to be cruel, but he's the most uninspiring coach I've ever heard talk at a big club. I don't find inspiration from him. I don't feel his words lift me in any way. In the way that Klopp used to, and I'm saying this as an Evertonian, goodness me, you know, and the way that Guardiola lifts his team, the way Ferguson lifted his team, the way all these great managers lifted their teams. Jason must have played with them as well, and Mikel, particularly Fergie. You know, it was these people lifted the clubs and were there because they know how to manage a big club. Him and Manchester United just don't fit for me and never have done.
Do you know when I look at Man United, I was just thinking, if you look at Rashford is a very, very talented footballer, and we've seen it in spells, possibly down to him sometimes, but I honestly think the manager, and Jadon Sancho was arguably one of
most sought
after players. Like we're talking 70, 80, 90, well, how much did he buy for? 80 million? You know, and I went to the Paris game against Dortmund, and he was outstanding in Paris in the semi-final. Outstanding. And how he is not in that Manchester United team is beyond me.